Ladies and gentlemen, you have reached Politomato. My name is Mike, and if there is any doubt in your mind as to why the far-left Democrats strongly objected to Elon Musk and DOGE, if you have any apprehensions as to why the far-left Democrats absolutely refuse to hand over welfare records of their states, look no further. This video clip is going to explain a lot, and make sure you stick around to the very end, because one of the very last video clips is going to blow your mind when you find out the percentage of the Somali community that is stealing the hard-working people's tax dollars.
This is an outrage. President Trump is outraged. I'm outraged. The whole administration is outraged. And we are here to follow the money because that's what Treasury does. We have done that for years. We did it with the mafia. We have done it with the cartels. And now we are going to do it with these Somali fraudsters. And Treasury has something called FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and we are coming in, tomorrow we are announcing that 4 investigations into money service businesses that we believe may have wired money out of the country, a lot of the ill-gotten, stolen money over to the Middle East, over to Somalia. We'll see where that's going. So we're announcing investigations into 4 of those money service businesses. We are going to put in what we call a geographical targeting order. So there's something called a suspicious activity report if a certain amount of money gets wired
$10,000, right?
So we're lowering that to $3,000.
Oh, good.
And we're also targeting the 2 counties here, and we're going to do enhanced surveillance. And from now on, anyone who wires money out from one of these money service businesses has to check a box saying whether they are on public assistance. And if you are on public assistance, we are going to start pushing that you cannot wire money out of the country.
Oh, gosh. Well, what if they lie and they don't tell us for public assistance?
Well, then
that's a crime, lying on a federal form.
We're going to follow it up, and we are going to push that you can no longer do that. The American people, our generosity has been taken advantage of.
I don't believe it's any surprise to those of us that have our eyes open that not only are the Democrats not participating in finding waste, fraud, and abuse amongst their communities, but they're also cultivating it. I mean, you tell me why it is that those that are collecting welfare should and would be able to send that welfare money overseas to their countries. And here's another great question. Why do all these Somalis need daycares when most of them don't even work? They're sitting at home collecting welfare. So that's how you know it's fraud. It's a good thing our Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is doing something about it, because for how long can hardworking Americans be taken advantage of?
IRS called criminal investigations, and these men and women, they are cool cats. They can take apart a balance sheet, and they can knock down a door and arrest someone. Like, they go out on patrols, they can make arrests. It's this very interesting hybrid force, about 2,500 of them, and they led the charge here. So it was IRS CIs who uncovered the initial fraud and the prosecutions. So it's with that group, with other groups at IRS, and with the powers of the Treasury to track where the money came from, where it's going. We saw this very unsettling news yesterday that many people involved here with the administration of these programs have tried to go back and they recreate documents, change documents, and we're not going to have that. We are going to hold people accountable. We're going to press this to the full extent possible. And like I said, I think that this may just be, it's a cold day outside, so this could be the tip of the iceberg here in Minnesota, but it's probably may not be as prevalent, but the dollars may be bigger and larger in other states. And just to put this in perspective for American taxpayers, for American families, the GAO, the General Accounting Office, believes that there is somewhere between 300 and 600 billion of annual fraud, roughly 10% of government spending that disappears due to fraud. If we can recapture that, That is 1% to 2% of GDP.
So did you hear that? It's official. The people involved with the administration of these welfare programs have tried to go back and recreate and change these documents. Well, isn't that a surprise to absolutely no one? And I think Scott Bessent is actually being very kind here, saying that it's only 10% of our government spending that is fraudulent. I would bet my britches that it's 20, 30, 40, or maybe even 50%. Any percentage is too much. And you know what? Just talking about cutting out this waste, fraud, and abuse is not enough. How about it gets paid back? How about people go to jail? At the very least, it can get paid back in the form of tax cuts to us hardworking Americans.
Of the legislative auditor released a damning report finding state employees fabricating records to cover up mismanagement of money, tax money. It's another black eye for the State Department of Human Services. And Lou Raguse is covering it and sat down with the legislative auditor.
This was definitely the most egregious thing I have seen, maybe in my whole time working at OLA.
After 27 years with the Office of the Legislative Auditor, a statement like that from Judy Randall means something. After past suspicions, she says her most recent audit proved state workers were fabricating documents to cover up mismanagement of taxpayer money.
So these documents should exist. They didn't. We asked for them. All of a sudden, they now exist. And in at least one case, it was created wholesale and backdated by 2 years to give the impression that it had always been there and been done on time.
The OLA audited the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants, nearly $200 million of taxpayer money each year, to addiction and mental health service providers. But the audit found BHA was not making sure those providers were doing the work.
BHA didn't conduct the site visits. Our auditors went and conducted the site visits that BHA should have done. And we identified serious concerns that services weren't being provided.
One of the grants examined by OLA was $1.6 million issued to the Wellness Collaborative through Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis. According to the OLA report, BHA didn't have documentation to give auditors to show that the services were rendered. What's more, the audit says the grant manager directly profited by leaving BHA and months later providing consulting services to the Wellness Collaborative for the grant she managed, which Randall says is not illegal.
But I think it raises a bunch of ethical questions at the very least.
Once again, disgusting, despicable. And it should really burn you up that Democrats had plans to hire 87,000 additional IRS agents to investigate middle-income earners just to make sure that we're paying our fair share when the whole time they're just blatantly stealing our tax dollars. And all welfare offices have fraud units. All of these fraud unit employees should be prosecuted because the only word for this is stealing. A slap on the wrist is not enough. If you don't do the time, once again, you will do the crime.
We are following up on a Minneapolis daycare at the center of questions about fraud in Minnesota's Child Care Assistance Program.
We have been tracking CCAP funding for more than a year. Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen is here with new developments raising, Eric, even more questions.
You might have heard this name. We're talking about the Quality Learning Center near downtown Minneapolis. First it was closed, then it was open, and now we've confirmed it's closed again. That's all after the owners recently rejected allegations of stealing taxpayer money. Back at the Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis, it was a case of deja vu. Hi, this is Eric Rasmussen with KSTP Channel 5. We're still waiting for a response to our calls and emails looking for an explanation about what 5 Investigates found Wednesday morning. A search of the state's online system reveals Quality Learning Center now closed as of January 6th. A 180-degree turn after our cameras recorded a parade of parents and children into the business last week. The owners used that to refute a viral YouTube video claiming to expose empty daycares collecting millions of taxpayer dollars.
Someone came to our building outside of operating hours.
So why is the daycare suddenly closed again? The Department of Children, Youth, and Families would only tell 5 Investigates that Quality Learning Center requested closure of their license on Tuesday. No answer from the daycare's owner when property records led us to this house in Shoreview looking for answers. What do you make of the fact that right after that big scene last week that they're closed again?
Well, to me, that's, where there's smoke, there's fire. Perhaps they're trying to avoid something.
State Rep Nolan West says questions about Quality Learning Center prompted him to send a letter to the head of DCYF demanding more transparency and accountability when it comes to which licensed daycare providers in Minnesota are actually open. A question KSTP has been asking for a long time since reporter Jay Coles found empty daycares receiving taxpayer funding a year ago. What do you think may actually come out of your letter, our reporting, all this attention?
Well, the idea is we need this to be taken seriously because we need bipartisan cooperation to pass any law in Minnesota. And clearly, we are in need of more anti-fraud measures.
So I just want to make sure I got this correct. Quality Learing Center, and I repeat, Learing Center, not Learning Center, was shut down last year due to allegations of fraud. Then they were closed, then they were open again, and through all that turmoil, they still managed to receive $1.9 million last year for daycare services. Now, we know that they didn't provide any daycare services. I mean, maybe they provided some daycare services, but only to their own Somali children, but that's it. And $1.9 million. Wow. Just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Let me ask you, does large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the...
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir, could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority...
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%. So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using
non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, when you're using the phrase native Minnesotans, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somalis.
And nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here.
Go for it.
Again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working-age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, how many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half. The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again, I keep trying to...
It doesn't sound like something that makes our country stronger to me, and I think most Americans would agree with me on that. I need to move on. Ms. Robbins, when would you say we concretely knew that widespread welfare fraud was occurring in Minnesota?
There have been reports since 2009 from the Office of Legislative Auditor. I would say the credible reports on childcare fraud started surfacing 2011 to 2013.
So for over a decade?
Yes, sir.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From the very beginning. He was running for governor in 2018 when there were prosecutions going on, when there was an OLA report, active cases in the news all the time.
And what was the Walz administration's response?
They actually did nothing when they got into office, and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan had been on the committee in the legislature that had hearings on childcare fraud, and when they got into office, they did put $5 million into a little more money, but nothing changed.
But nothing. And let me ask you, Mr. Hudson, thank you for being here. Did those who commit this fraud, do they typically vote for Republicans or Democrats, in your opinion?
In my opinion, thank you for qualifying it like that, I would say they most definitely overwhelmingly vote for Democrats.
Do they typically donate to Republicans or Democrats?
Not to my knowledge. They don't donate to Republicans, they donate to Democrats, in my opinion, yes.
Got it. So would you say this is the Somali population is an important demographic for Democrats to win over politically?
Unquestionably.
Got it. And do you think it would have hurt Democrats' political standing with the Somali population to investigate this fraud?
Very clearly.
Got it. So in other words, you're saying that there was a political incentive to cover up widespread Somali fraud. Is that right?
100%.
Got it. Let me ask all three of you. Did the Walz administration and Democrats intentionally, in your opinion, overlook this fraud while it was happening for political gain? I'll start with you, Ms. Robbins.
Absolutely. We have credible whistleblower reports that the Department of Human Services administration up to the OIG and the commissioner met with a group called the Minnesota Minority Child Care Association multiple times, and that they were trying to weaken protections. We wanted, we had several changes we wanted to do, and they opposed all of them.
And Mr. Hudson and Ms. Rarick, and then my time is up.
I would agree.
Absolutely. The whistleblowers confirm it.
Got it. Thank you.
So, plain and simple, this has all the makes of an old-fashioned racket. Ship illegal alien migrant communities, such as Somalis, here to the United States. Make sure they are all on welfare and keep them on welfare, extremely disproportionate to native-born Americans. And make sure they vote Democrat so that Democrats can stay in power. Rinse and repeat. And the whistleblowers confirm this. And for those Democrats that don't believe that this fraud is real, the majority of the whistleblowers themselves are Democrats. Well, folks, that's going to be a wrap for this video. I hope you're enjoying being enlightened once again about the Somali fraud and how it's going to be dealt with moving forward. If you did, please subscribe, like, and maybe leave a comment. I would love to hear what you all think. I thank you all very much for your time. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and wherever you are, keep smiling.